We're going to go as far away, 180 degrees from worse to the better. And to welcome in our good friend Mark Meckler. Mark is president and co-founder of Convention of States. Good morning to you, Mr. Meckler.
Good morning. Great to be with you, Jake.
Mark, we're getting a lot of good news, I think, with respect to Convention of States. I know Colonel Williams, she's on our interactive chat room right now to answer our listeners' questions on Convention of States. I asked her to do that for us today. But the fact is, you wrote an interesting piece on Elon Musk, the possibility of Elon funding a third political party. But you maintain, Mark Meckler, that Elon Musk's influence and money could be put to better use. We know how Elon feels. And you know what? Elon's not wrong and why he's angry. Right. We understand that. But tell us why Elon's money and influence might be put to better use with respect to Convention of States action.
Yeah, a little historical context. I figured out what Elon figured out, only I figured it out 12 years ago, and that was coming out of the Tea Party movement. We elected the largest swing class in the history of Congress since 1938. 62 seats flipped from Democrat to Republican, and then nothing changed. And I experienced the same level of frustration that Elon's experiencing, meaning we did something, we were successful. He was very successful, helping Trump get elected, doing a lot of great stuff, getting involved, becoming the head of Doge, right there in the heart of government. And then it seems like almost nothing changed. There was all this pushback, all this court stuff. And so I realized you have to go outside Washington, D.C. if you want to make fundamental change. Article 5 gives us the power to call a convention of states to propose amendments to do a lot of the things that Elon's trying to do. He's worried about the country's finances. We can impose a balanced budget amendment. We could limit taxation. We could limit spending. These are things he wants to do. We could cut out entire agencies permanently, constitutionally. He is not going to get that done through a third-party effort. So I 100% agree with his frustration. The big, beautiful bill, well, bills can be big and not beautiful. They can't be both of those things. So I just think if he got behind Convention of States, it takes 34 states to call a convention. 19 have already done so. So we're well beyond halfway there. With Elon's public persona, his rocket fuel per se, his technology, his financing, I think we could get over the line and get into a Convention of States and accomplish what he's trying to accomplish.
Has anyone reached out to Elon yet?
I haven't spoken to Elon directly. As you would imagine, he's inside a pretty tight circle of people who allow you to get to him or not get to him. I've had conversations with people who are pretty close to Elon. I think the most important thing we can do with Elon is reach him on X. That's what he really pays attention to.
Okay.
Jake, I had a post this week that just said it's time, and it's pinned to the top of my X page, my X stream at Mark Meckler. And the amount of uptake on that was absolutely unbelievable. I'm not a big X guy. Like, I don't have a huge amount of followers. I don't get a lot of traffic. Right. I normally get 250, 300 people who look at what I'm doing. This one's over 250,000. And Ben Shapiro has said that Elon Musk should get on board. Mark Levin has said Elon Musk should get on board. Ron DeSantis has said Elon Musk should get on board. So we're seeing more and more of this talk. So I'm hoping that that's what reaches them. If people go there and they read that post, they comment on it, they tag Elon, that stays in his feed. I think that's the best way.
And again, everything in politics, Mark, is about money. Elon has no problem spending money to fix a problem. He's a businessman. That's what he does. And that's right. I think that's the difference that we're seeing between an Elon Musk, a Washington outsider, and someone inside Washington that wants to keep the same gravy train going indefinitely, right?
Yeah, look, I mean, this is a sad truth of politics, but it's just the truth of politics, so we have to accept it. Right. There are actually two sides to political success. One is people. You've got to have people. You got to get the votes. You've got to have people behind you. In our movement, we have over 5 million people involved right now. That is absolutely required in any state where you're going to pass Convention of States. But then also, of course, it takes money. It takes budget. It takes advertising. It takes the ability to support the grassroots financially in a state, meaning giving them the tools that they need to get.
You know what else it needs, Mark, if I can interrupt you? It needs organization. And seeing the way Elon Musk put together Doge in what month? He got all of these experts, got these people together and created this movement called, this organization called Doge. He did that.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's an extraordinary CEO. And that's what a great CEO can do. I think I'm a pretty good CEO of Convention of States, but I don't think I'm any Elon Musk. And I would welcome a guy like Elon and his team to come in to help us reorganize, to rebuild technology at the cutting edge so that we could get this job done. And I really think we could satisfy his urge to throttle back the federal government.
Mark Meckler is joining us. Mark is the president and co-founder of the Convention of States Action. Mark, this is an interactive program. We have listeners who sign up to become producers, and they submit questions, and they help me to produce the show. There's several questions on our Dial interactive board for you right now. I got to take a break. When we come back, can we go to those questions?
Absolutely.
All right. Mark Meckler is joining us. More with Mark in just a moment on Your News Talk America. Back on Your News Talk America Digital Interactive Friday. Your anchorman, Jake Smith. We're on the case talking Convention of States right now and why Elon Musk getting in the game could be a game changer. And we have as our panelist this morning, Mark Meckler, president and co-founder of Convention of States Action. Mark, Colonel Michelle Williams, who I know you know, she is our local Convention of States captain, district captain here. And she says at the outset, before we get to the questions, that we need more COS volunteers on the ground and a solid strategy for blue states. What say you about that?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it's kind of an old adage in grassroots politics, which I've been doing for 15 years, and it's absolutely true, which is there isn't a problem that can't be solved with more grassroots activists, like no matter what it is. So if you have a legislator who's recalcitrant, that isn't really interested, if you can triple the number of
we got plenty of those here.
Yeah.
We got plenty of those here, Mark.
Also, if you get more,
and many of them are Republicans.
Get more and more people in their district who are interested and who start pushing them and building relationships with them, that's how you move things forward. And okay. I think the tried and true strategy for me, remember, I come from California originally. I live in Texas now, but I was born and raised in California. And so I've done a lot of work in that legislature. The actual strategy in a blue legislature right now is the easiest it's ever been, which is this is a way to push back against Donald Trump. If you don't like Trump, I love Trump, but if you're a Democrat and you don't like Trump, our whole point is to take power away from D.C. and give it back to the states. So that would benefit California, would benefit Delaware, any liberal state as much as it would benefit a conservative state. That's why this really is a nonpartisan effort.
And that's we have to keep driving that point home, Mark, right? This is a nonpartisan effort, right?
Yeah, look, I think people get confused about that, and understandably so, because I lead it. I'm a very conservative guy. Mike Ferris is my co-founder, very conservative guy. You hear Levin and Hannity and Shapiro and all these guys talk about it. Those are conservatives. But the reality is you have to look at the substance of the effort, and the effort is simple. Just take power away from D.C. and give it back to local folks in their states.
Colonel Williams did submit a question on the board for you, Mark. What is President Trump's opinion of COS? Has he endorsed COS to your knowledge?
He certainly hasn't endorsed yet, is what I would say. I know that it's been discussed. I certainly, in his last term, spoke to him about it briefly, to be fair. I don't know if he'd even remember the conversation. He said he liked the sound of it. I know if you look at the administration, this is kind of the best hint we have, is it's full of people who are Convention of State supporters. We couldn't have planned it, but you have J.D. Vance, Pete Hegseth, Ag Secretary Brooke Rollins. You have Mike Huckabee, our ambassador to Israel, Caroline Leavitt, Marco Rubio. All of them are longtime COS supporters, so he's surrounded by some good folks. I was in the White House about a month ago having some conversations there. So, I don't know what's going to happen. I can't predict that. It's up to the president what he does, but I think it's moving in the right direction.
All right, let me get to these questions, Mark, before I wrap it up. What are the three top constitutional amendments favored by Convention of States right now?
Yeah, so if you look at our three subject matter areas, first is anything that would impose term limits on D.C., and that's wildly popular across the country, about 85%. So some kind of term limits amendment, but I would add, and this is important, Jake, it has to be for staffers and bureaucrats as well. The deep state, as we call it, it's not good enough to just limit the terms of Congress. Second is anything that would impose fiscal restraints on the federal government. So up at the top of the list would be a balanced budget amendment, but we also need tax caps and spending caps. And third would be anything that limits the scope and power of the federal government. So in other words, you could literally say, no more Department of Education. Federal government can't be involved in education or health or energy or environment. Those are all things that were intended for the states.
Right.
I'll throw a little bit of frosting on top of that. I think we need to limit the Supreme Court to 9 And I think we need to give the states the authority constitutionally to enforce their own borders if they need to.
And let's get rid of the 17th Amendment while we're at it,
Oh
Mark.
man, I would be a huge fan of that. That's the direct election of senators. Most people aren't aware of that Congress used to, the state legislatures used to appoint the senators.
Yep.
That gave the states much more power in DC, and I'd love to see that restored.
Mark, final question before I get to our next panelist. Carrie Pickett is standing by. There are 20 to 21 solidly blue states. Given that obstacle, how do we get to that magical 35 states for Convention of States?
Yeah, I think if you look at the overall long-term trend in America, it's red. The red states are getting redder, and a lot of the blue states are trending purple. We have states like Michigan, which is a split legislature.
That's a good point.
Split and flip. Pennsylvania is the same. Minnesota is the same. So you'll see our activists out there in the field and us, where it's legal, working to flip state legislatures that are blue and flip them to red.
Mark Meckler, thanks so much for coming on and talking Convention of States. I hope you can sign Elon Musk up to get on board, because that would be a game changer for Convention of States, Mark.
Thanks, Jake. I think with your help, we will.
Thank you so much.